Racism. That's a nice happy start to any video. I think most sensible people would agree that racism in all its forms is utterly vile. We all know Martin Luther King, content of their character, not the colour of their skin. I also think, however, that culture is hugely important. Where was someone raised? What are their values and standards? As an Englishman, I was raised and live in a country underpinned with Judeo-Christian values. That's where my moral compass is. However, there is one form of racism that's largely going unchallenged, and that's anti-white racism. Now, as this is a comedy channel, I'll acknowledge but won't get into the truly horrendous attack that took place in the USA by an African-American man on a beautiful Ukrainian woman refugee. Like I said, this is a comedy channel. I want you, the viewer, to leave this video feeling all warm and fuzzy inside. So, there's a story doing the rounds on TikTok, which originally comes from the Nation of Islam, a black power movement from the United States of America. I think I'm right in saying those are the guys who killed Malcolm X. Like they went, this chap here is trying to get us racial equality. We'd best shoot him then. When you hear the story objectively, it's not overly well thought out, but it's being used as justification to hate white people. Let's begin.
Have you guys ever heard of Yakub or the big head scientist? If not, story time. 6,600 years ago, a black scientist by the name of Yakub existed. Yakub was also identified as the big head scientist, or father of Caucasian people. Yakub was born in 4770 BC. He was an introvert like myself and spent most of his time alone. He had a knack for solving problems and creating things. Fast forward to his later years, Yakub gathered about 60,000 volunteers that followed him, and for the last 6,000 years, he experimented with them. Yakub discovered a suppressed germ he found in the very part of us that caused us to act contrary to good. From that, he began to graft and mate those humans. The way I was taught growing up was that he would make light-skinned people take their offspring and do the same for the next 600 years. White people have only existed for about 6,000 years. Yakub is said to be the father of the white devil. Things that make you say, What do you guys think? You can actually look this up online. It's not anything new. It's old. Like I said, I've been taught or told this since I was a little girl. So take your time, read it, and leave your thoughts.
The big head scientist. From Africa. A continent where, aside from ancient Egypt, let's be blunt, all the parts of it which at some point weren't under European control, those places they still haven't mastered the fucking wheel. Yakub invented white people. And she knows that because she's been told it since she was a little girl. Oh, so it must be true then. When I get home, I'll order a taxi and expect fucking Noddy to come and pick me up. To me, it just shows the bitterness, the resentment, the othering of white people. And this underlying feeling that people this colour can't have achieved what we've achieved without the help of Africans. But we're meant to believe that 6,000 years ago, an African scientist was doing complex genetic experiments in a part of the world where in 2025, billions of dollars are sent in aid every sodding year because the people there can't get the hang of running water. But the clip we just saw looks sensible and sane compared to what's coming up now.
The Caucasian was created by our ancient ancestor known as Yakub, as well as his team of scientists. In the science experiment to create the Caucasian, they used the DNA in the blood of an albino black man and woman, as well as the DNA in the blood of mosquitoes, muskrats, dogs, as well as monkeys and other different types of animals and insects. These first created Caucasians walked on all fours and had hair covering their entire bodies. These first created Caucasians also had tails. After the success of the experiment to create the Neanderthal or the Caucasian, the Neanderthal or the Caucasian was then banished to the Caucasus Mountains. They engaged in a very barbaric animal type of lifestyle, where they engaged in incest, cannibalism, bestiality, as well as many other different types of things. Because remember, this is a newly created people who are...
The DNA of albinos, dogs, muskrats, mosquitoes, monkeys and insects. I'm old enough to remember right-wing dickheads going to football matches here in the UK and making monkey chants at the black players. It was utterly fucking detestable. But this is being used as justification for hatred. DNA wasn't discovered until the 1950s and it wasn't decoded until 1977. But 6,000 years ago, Yakub was using it. And early white people were covered in fur and had tails. Well, in 2025, those people exist, but they're wearing suits. They're called furries and they are sexual degenerates masquerading as lunatics. And the Neanderthals were banished. The Neanderthals died out 40,000 years ago. Almost as if this entire tale hasn't been peer-reviewed and backed up with empirical evidence. He is correct that the word Caucasian is derived from the Caucasus. That's the only thing he gets right. Maybe I'm being a bit harsh on the whole Neanderthal thing. After all, he's only roughly 34,000 years out. And like I said, I think it's about culture, not skin tone. But fuck it, let's play devil's advocate. Back in 2020, a violent career criminal died whilst resisting arrest. Of course, I won't name him out of respect, but as an aside, as a guitarist, by George, do I love using a Floyd Rose bridge. And what was the reaction from some, only some, of the African American community? Violence, disorder. Parts of America were razed to the ground, looting. Now to me, that is animalistic behaviour. Not only that, it took place in the middle of a fucking pandemic. And that wasn't 6,000 years ago, that was 5 years ago. Our friend also mentions incest, which is interesting given that this comes from the Nation of Islam. Because here in the UK, and feel free to Google this, people of Pakistani ancestry, 50% of them are married to their cousins. Their first cousins. And bestiality. Here's a direct quote. A man is still pure when he releases his lust with a sheep or goat. That is Dr. Zakir Naik, a scholar of Quranic studies. It feels to me like there's a lot of projection going on.
Caucasian was then taken out of the Caucasus Mountains by Akhenaten and the Moors, Helios Biblios, aka the Holy Bible, under the name of Moses, where Akhenaten or Moses takes the Caucasian from the Caucasus Mountains and then gives them the commandments, which is essentially how to be a human. You must understand, these are animal people. So the Moors gave them these commandments in order to teach them at first to be civilized. The Moors then brought the Caucasian or the Neanderthal into society and taught them how to be civilized. They taught them how to stand up straight, how to walk on 2 feet, how to speak a language, how to bathe, how to take showers. This planet was only populated by melanated people. These highly advanced people had knowledge of space travel, how to build pyramids, how to heal and regenerate organs using just sound.
So now we get to the crux of it. Moses and the 10 Commandments, yes, it's just anti-Semitism. But the Moors then had to teach the white people how to not only walk on 2 legs, but how to read and learn a language. What the fuck was the point of the 10 Commandments beforehand if they couldn't read or talk? But this chap thinks his ancestors built the pyramids. No, sir. Your ancestors are from sub-Saharan Africa, where, as I've mentioned, without outside intervention, people live in shantytowns and fucking mud huts. And space travel. Does this gentleman not realise that Black Panther wasn't a documentary? Wakanda doesn't fucking exist. However, like I say, it's about culture, not race. This gentleman is Leland Melvin, one of my personal heroes, a former NASA astronaut who worked on the shuttle. He's a brilliant writer, a brilliant presenter, and I'm guessing he doesn't wake up every morning and blame all his shortcomings on the white man. He's just a decent human being who's an inspiration to millions around the world. But if we're going to talk about early space travel, our new friend is in for some uncomfortable truths. Because early space travel, early space technology, was developed by white men. White men who were obsessed with being white because they came to the USA to form NASA during Operation Paperclip. Because the early pioneers of space travel were Nazis. And if that gentleman believes that his ancestors had such incredible technology, where is it now? And I'm going to be a bit of a bastard. Because if the white man is so backward, so animalistic, so inbred and so stupid, why was it so easy for the British, the French, the Belgians, the Portuguese, etc. to walk in and easily conquer Africa? And the reason's simple. Africa was, and parts of it still are, in the fucking Stone Age. It doesn't matter how good you are, with a spear and a shield made from animal skin, if your adversary has got muskets and cannons, you are fucked, mate. And why were the morally and intellectually superior Africans so keen to sell other Africans to European and American slave traders? Moreover, why are there still active slave markets in Africa today? I started off by saying that racism is vile, and I believe it is. But all racism has to be vile. It cannot be fucking selective, and it can't be based on jealousy, which I think most of those clips are. Like I said, it's about culture, not skin colour. So I've got one clip left. Let's see a group of sub-Saharan African Muslims trying to negotiate an escalator. As an apparently racially inferior man, I bask in the shadow of those people's greatness, who can't work out how to get onto stairs that move. The world's getting more divided, and it's people like those we've seen in the previous clips who are doing the division, the race hustlers. They need racism. It's the whole reason for existing. I feel very sorry for anyone who's consumed with that much hatred. Anyway, that was fucking serious. That's the end of this video. If you enjoyed it, please do like and subscribe if you haven't already. If you could leave a like, a comment, or share the video, that really helps the algorithm. If you'd like to support me in making these videos, and thank you to everyone who's done so far, there are links in the description to buy me a coffee and to my Patreon, and as ever, thanks for watching. The DNA of albinos, muskrats, dogs, monkeys, insects, and mosquitoes. Mate, we can't splice that DNA now. Stop eating the fucking lead out of your pencils. The Nation of Islam. Of course, Islam came into being in the 7th century, but now apparently they're a fucking authority on things that happened 6,000 years ago. Fucking do that one again. Right, so, I'm not a biblical expert, but Moses is leading the Neanderthals to the 10 Commandments, where they're walking on all fours, to then be taken by the Moors to be taught to how to wash and how to read and write. Fuck me, where's this timeline going? Oh, I remember a parallel story where King Solomon rode upon his Tyrannosaurus Rex and took a Saturn V to the fucking moon. Are we seriously meant to take... I've got a bramble around my foot.